Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude
and Justin.
Today we're talking about Dexter. This is our Dexter Podcast number 2. We're covering the first 2 episodes of Season 5. Episode 1, the premiere, My Bad, and Episode 2, Hello, Bandit. So Dexter has been pretty interesting so far this season, leading up from the big finale of the Trinity Killer putting his signature move on Rita, as it were, and killing her and leaving Dexter to clean up the mess. So far the season's been pretty good. I've been interested in some of the storylines. Some of the little things they're doing I'm not that fond of, but I'm waiting to see what they finally focus on for the season. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I definitely. It's not totally clear what the arc is for this season yet, but I think so far I've enjoyed it. One thing I really appreciated was that they picked up right where they left off last season. Didn't pull some kind of flash forward thing or whatever. We actually had to deal with the problems instead of just sweeping them under the rug. And so I like that. I just as a side note, I really liked last season. I thought it had a nice structure to it. I mean, aside from certain issues with the show overall that never seemed to go away. I thought that.
Hey, let's leave Quinn out of this.
Oh. You know what? I've accepted Quinn at this point.
Yeah,
I can live with Quinn. Quinn's fine.
Yeah, Quinn's fine.
But nonetheless, there was a time where he felt like an interloper. But anyway, but like overall, I just liked how they built last season. It had this Act 1 where we have no idea who, John Lithgow is and what's going on, and then Act 2, Dexter integrates himself into his life, and we found out all kinds of stuff about him, and Dexter sort of, delaying killing him and even saving his life at a certain point. Eventually leads to him getting the opportunity to kill Rita, and you have this, big ending, which was fantastic, probably the best ending for a Dexter season for the whole show, I would say.
Yeah, well, you can't really beat what they did.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting, especially considering he ends up killing Trinity, but Trinity's already won, sort of.
Yes.
Like, he's already gotten the final blow, and Dexter has no idea yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice touch, the whole way they revealed it. With, and it always feels a little bit perfunctory at the end when he catches the killer and kills them, because it's just like, okay, now we're done.
Hey, maybe that's why they delayed it.
Yeah.
On a certain level, it's like, well, they got to delay that.
Yeah. I mean, from a story point of view, it makes sense, but just from Dexter's point of view, his decision sort of led to Rita's death, and that's sort of what one of the issues is for this season. But I think one of the things that I feel like overall the first 4 seasons, one big overriding theme was Dexter trying to be a part of this family, and I got used to that being a thing, and it just sort of built. I mean, Rita was sort of a girlfriend in the first season, and then he had his weird thing with Lila in season 2, but then in season 3, they had the baby, and in season 4, it's really about being a family man, specifically. And so it felt like it was building, are we going to have a serial killer who just has some kind of stereotypical life, and now with Rita dead and the fallout from that, that part of the show is gone. So I feel like it's really changed, similarly to how Mad Men changed when, Don and Betty got divorced, that this dynamic that's been present since the beginning of the show is just gone. So now Dexter's on his own, and I feel like it was a important thing to do for the series, because I think it just provides a nice change from the routine.
Well, yeah, and I think the best Dexter could have done was to be like Trinity, do his kills and still be a pillar of the community and no one the wiser. And then, of course, the sort of, the truth behind the matter was he was able to do that by keeping his family terrified.
Right.
So Dexter's like, oh, yeah, I can't, that's not a viable solution anymore.
Right, he didn't want to do that.
Yeah, oops. Yeah. So they definitely couldn't have gone down that road, because that was kind of the model he was going to follow.
Right.
It's cool that they switched it up. It's pretty drastic that they killed Rita, and I mean it's been fine for me, like having the kids around and Dexter trying to make all that work. But I'm interested to see what they do now that he's unfettered. By that stuff, and to see what direction he heads in, because like you pointed out, his growth over the seasons have been him trying to acclimate to have this family, but it's also sort of on a more specific season level. It's like season 2, he's season 1, he's a big revelation about where he came from and the whole thing with the Ice Star Killer being his brother, and then season 2 with Lila and trying to find someone to share his secret with, and then that backfiring, and then next season he's trying to find a brother figure, and like it's someone who can share a secret with the kid. It always really comes down to that, right? Someone who he can be himself with, and so then that culminates to trying to be the head of his household with his family thing. So now that that's gone, he's still going to have someone to try to share his secret with or to connect to. And I don't know what the show's going to do time-wise. I mean, it would seem like a natural progression for him to, raise, his kid, the baby, and that be part of the drama of him teaching whatever happens with the kid, that being part of a long-term storyline. But, of course, the kid needs to be older for that to be dramatic.
Right.
Unless he does it as baby talk, which might just turn Dexter into a comedy.
Right.
Oh, we followed Grandpa's rules. Grandpa Henry said.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'm interested to see who this season or what this season is going to be that kind of pull for Dexter.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to point out, because they definitely made the parallel with Dexter's baby, being there when Rita's killed, and what happened to Dexter, which was
it's like
similar.
How can that baby not grow up to have some sort of problem that Dexter can help him with? I mean, like on this show, like in real life, who knows? But on this show, how can that baby not have an issue? So.
Right, and the only thing about it is, like you said, the time issue. Like, I don't know, I didn't see Dexter going long enough that the kid would even get old enough for that to happen,
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, I don't see Dexter going more than maybe 2 more seasons.
I'm wondering if maybe they'll time skip. I mean, what if somehow at the end of this season he has to go on the run for real and he takes the kid with him, and next season we pick up and it's 5 years later, maybe 6. I don't know. I feel like the kid has to be at least 7 or 8.
Yeah.
At least Natalie Portman in the professional age, right?
Right.
For it to be dramatic. So.
Sure. Haley Joel Osment in AI.
Yeah. No, we said dramatic.
Oh.
Yikes.
Okay. Painful.
Just kidding. I love AI and all of its 3 endings.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish you could have seen the Kubrick version.
Yeah, well.
Oh, well. Anyway, that's not really on topic.
Nope. Let's reel it back in.
The time skip, they definitely could do it. That would be pretty drastic. That would mean losing a ton of the fundamentals of the show. You know, like, I started to realize that this, like, police station, they had one shot of the, like, Miami Metro, like, thing from the outside, and I was like, it's this, like, tall, like, it looks like it was about 15 stories high, and I was like, I didn't remember the building even looking like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just never noticed, but I was like, what? Okay, anyway. That aside, the inside of it is just such a familiar place now. Like, I feel like I know there's so much in there that I'm familiar with. You got, like, point
it all out. Tell us what we got.
This character's name I'm blanking on, which is really sad.
Angel?
Not Angel. The other one. The one he's married to.
LaGuerta?
Yes, Maria. That's okay. You got her office, you know, which, like, that's got its own history with, like, that guy and what's her name that came in, and then, like, Maria, like, slept with her husband or something to, like, get to the top. Like, so there's that little room, and then there's, like, Dexter's, like, lab area, you know, like, he confronted Dokes in there. That's where he does, like, he looks up a lot of stuff in there. And usually, like, when he's on a case, like, he'll look up things in there. He's also got, like, equipment and stuff. And then there's, like, the interrogation room. And there's, like, the place where Dexter does his, like, blood spatter experiments. I guess they actually showed, like, Masuka doing it because Dexter wasn't there, you know, here. But, like, just this big white room and blood just sprays, you know, fake blood just, like, sprays everywhere to, like, I guess, you know.
And somehow they get science out of that.
Yeah, test out some kind of theory about what happened.
You know, that scene in that episode where the scene you're talking about, where she's like, try the machete, and he uses the machete, and I'm just really curious about how they make the you know, what material that they use to make the human body, you know, that he cuts, you know. To, you know, how do they make it where that is an accurate, or, you know, a reasonable representation, you know, when he chops that fake human head with the machete, that the cut it leaves on the tissue and the muscle or whatever, you know, is analogous to what would match up to a human in real life. I'm just curious how they make that material.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, on Mythbusters, they use you know, fake human substitutes a lot for you know, for testing out, you know, what's going to happen to people, how much they'll be injured, and things like that. And I think they use they actually said what it was. I think it's made out of gelatin, and it's supposed to approximate the strength, you know, of like human tissue.
Yeah. Okay. But to me, it's like, does it not only calculate for the strength, because that's one thing, but there's different densities. There's I feel like there's all kinds of factors in what it would do to you depending on what happens and the force and the angle, and it seems like one solid substance is supposed to really get that across. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, so it doesn't tell you, but it's supposed to be like close enough that you can draw conclusions. You know, like, yeah, because it is like, although I think they do put in like a sort of substitute, like rib cage and spine. Yeah. You know.
Listen, I'm just going on the platform here to say I want better human substitutes. That's just, you know, I just want it better. So I'm campaigning on that this season. This fall, that's my platform.
All right. Well, everybody, if you care about that issue, go out there and vote for Claude. He's going to deliver better human substitutes. Do you have a time frame for that? Like, when are we going to have better human substitutes?
When we kick the fat cats out of Washington.
Okay. Of course.
Stand up for American values.
I see. Like,
take our country back.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of taking things back, let's go back to Dexter.
Right.
So, My Bad, the first episode. What did you think?
First episode, liked it. It was good. It was very good. It was, first episodes are always tricky to pull off, I think. Because you're coming back after a long time, and now you're just back in the story again, and they have to sort of reintroduce all the characters and, kind of reset up all the stuff from last season. But I think in general, I really liked episode 1. I think it was really strong. It was mostly just dealing with Rita's death. And I guess episode 2 had a lot of that too, but I think episode 1 was the most about it. The initial, crime scene stuff and Dexter, the FBI being slightly suspicious, and the having to make like funeral arrangements, and Dexter having to tell Astor and Cody about it, and that's what most of it was about. And the thing they did in episode 1 that probably I liked the most was the flashback to Dexter and Rita's first date, where I guess they were set up or something, and Dexter sees a guy he wants to kill while he's there, and so he just kind of fits that in and just abruptly leaves when he gets the guy in his trunk. And for whatever reason, she's just totally attracted to him based on this really, normally I would think that kind of behavior would be off-putting, but somehow she likes that, and that's the start of their relationship. And I liked how that played out. I thought that was interesting. It was a weird way to bring Rita back, very Lost style. Yeah. Once a flashback lover, always a flashback lover. I guess, to me it works because they don't do that all the time. So it felt like a sort of unique thing.
Yeah, totally. And it fit pretty well with Dexter remembering what happened and all that, and sort of the beginning of, in his opinion, the end for Rita.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
There was some stuff, what did you think about his whole, I was, okay, so after she dies, the whole, this whole episode, he's just sort of, stunned or something, he's just shut down, doesn't really talk a lot, he's obviously not emotional about her death and crying and any of that stuff.
Right.
But it seems like at a certain point it's expected of him to show that emotion. Yeah. And not only that, but it would be good for him tactically since people are starting to suspect things.
Yes.
So I was wondering why it never came up to him to even fake it. Because I feel like Dexter in other seasons would have been I'm supposed to be emotional now. I need to say the right thing or pretend to whatever just as a cover. But he never did that. He was just I don't care if people think I killed my wife. I'm just going to not cry. I'm just going to whatever. I don't know what he was doing. But
no, you're right. You're right. It seems like that didn't even occur to him. Actually, when I was watching it, I thought about things like you got evidence you got to hide. There's an investigation going on, and you got this shed with your serial killer stuff in it. You need to get rid of stuff. And I thought of that before they even showed him thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so that made me think wow, is Dexter not even thinking about that? Is he not even concerned about he might actually go down because of this? He didn't seem worried about having all the police rooting around, in his business. I mean, he did eventually care, but in general, I would say it felt like he wasn't on top of his game. Somehow the Rita thing just stunned him, into a kind of apathy or a kind of state where he wasn't thinking clearly.
Mhm. Well, what's weird is, as they point as part of the subplot is this is when Harry would have shown up to help guide him, and Harry never did until the end. So you got to wonder what that was about too. Like he was too much in shock to hallucinate his father or something.
All right, now you brought this up, so I'm gonna have to.
I feel like I stumbled upon the secret topic of the day or something.
You did. You just hit a whammy.
Whoa, I hit a jackpot. Wow.
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah, I was going to bring this up anyway, but since you brought it up, now I'll just elaborate what I want to say, specifically about Harry, because I hadn't really thought. So in the early part of the show, Harry was, just a flashback character. I mean, they just showed Dexter in his childhood, and they showed Harry teaching him, the code, and it was really, he just existed in that form. And then at a certain point, I think they did flashbacks in season 2 as well. I think it was in season 3 where he transitions into this sort of
Obi-Wan Harry,
imaginary friend / conscience / advisor kind of role where he just appears to him. And maybe it's just coming off the heels of Godric and True Blood, but it never really entered my mind before, like, how am I supposed to view Harry appearing? Like, I hadn't really given it thought. Should I take it as Dexter's, like, this is really just a representation of Dexter's internal monologue, and this is just sort of Dexter talking to himself, and sort of a certain side of himself is represented by Harry. Like, that makes a certain kind of sense, and a lot of the scenes kind of play that way. It's just Dexter sort of working out what he should do, and they show his thinking process in this way. Or should I take this as, like, literally the ghost of Harry appearing to him, giving him advice about things? Because, I mean, the reason I'm inclined not to think that is I don't think there's been any point where Dexter's like, I see my dead father and talk to him all the time. Like, I mean. Well,
yeah, and I think it has to do. I think that those kind of situations is usually judged by how the character acknowledges the hallucination or the ghost or whatever. And since Dexter never says, like, how are you here? Mm-hmm. It takes, to me, it means that he knows.
Right.
Like he's not concerned that he's talking to his dad, because subconsciously he knows he's talking to himself. That's what he's really doing. Yeah. And so I feel like that's what it is. I feel like if it was Ghost Harry from the Beyond, you'd have to have that scene where Dexter is confused or wondering why all of a sudden Harry is appearing and is this separate entity from himself and stuff like that.
Exactly. I mean, that's what leads me to believe that, and I think that's what's going on. But I just happened to notice on the Showtime wiki, like, they have a section called Visions of Harry, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice of words. That's not really how I see it. That's sort of, saying the opposite of what I think's going on. But nonetheless, I mean, you can still say that and have it not be the thing. Okay, so you're saying internal. It's really Dexter talking to himself.
Yeah, I think he's it's almost some sort of schizophrenic hallucination. I think his brain chemistry is a little discombobulated. He's a serial killer.
Sure. I'll agree with that. I think that's another thing that I sort of realized with these episodes, like how screwed up Dexter is. I mean, I know that should be obvious, but I guess like him being the protagonist makes it hard to see sometimes.
After 5 seasons of Dexter, I'm starting to get the feeling this guy's screwed up.
When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous.
Somebody needs to look into this guy. Where's Sergeant Dokes when you need him? Oh, that's right.
Yes. Right. So another thing, like, related to that was Dexter killing the guy in the bathroom, just for being an asshole, basically.
The ultimate asshole tax.
Yeah. Exactly. And, brutally, just killing him with blood spraying everywhere and no plastic, no ritual, no...
Well, you mean brutally, you mean, the most human thing he's ever done, right?
Yes.
The most human thing he's done so far.
And then they turn it around, this is somehow redemptive. This is Dexter's way of releasing his emotions. And it's but isn't that creepy and disturbing? Not, good? It's weird to play that moment that way to me.
Yeah, because I think they could have and would have, we've seen this same scene before where Harry appears. The same exact thing happens, but when Harry appears, he says, Dexter, that's not what you should have done.
Exactly.
You shouldn't have just killed this man.
That's what I expected.
Without him, you don't know if he killed anyone else or he didn't deserve, or it's totally.
You got blood
opposite.
all over your clothes. You don't know who saw you come in here.
Yeah, did you check it? Yeah, exactly. So you're right. I mean, it's the total opposite, and they play it as something positive that he shows emotion and he lets it out, which is good. But it seems like he should. It seems like he should. It's fine to have that message of, yes, Dexter, you did something human, you got your emotions out, but he should also have the caveat of, next time, do it without killing someone, and you're golden. That's the most human, thing to do, is to let your emotions out without killing someone.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a weird way to be human. I mean, maybe you could say that it is, but I guess I feel like, the normal way of for example, just in episode 2. There's this subplot involving Angel finding out that Maria has a secret account with a lot of money in it that he didn't know about.
The way it plays on the show, it's fine, but when you describe it, it sounds like the most tepid drama ever. Oh no, she's got a secret account. They've been married for what, 48 hours?
Pretty much.
Next week, she's like, oh no, he's going to find out she's got, 2 waffle makers.
When were you going to tell me about this?
How come you didn't tell me you had a Texas-shaped waffle maker, huh?
I thought you wanted to make this marriage work.
It's Maria. I can't do Angel.
Close enough.
He's got a crazy accent.
It is crazy. It's good to see him not in the Expendables.
Yes. It's good to see anyone not in that movie, really.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Anyway, the point I was getting at was, at the end of the episode, he ends up concluding that Maria thinks he's irresponsible, and since he's upset about that, he decides to, I guess, just indulge his irresponsibility and buy everyone drinks and sort of wallow in it, I guess. And then he ends up getting in a fight with somebody, at the bar, right? To me, that's the normal way of letting your emotions out. Maybe you punch somebody out. I mean, that's still not great, but that's to me, that's more standard human. Whereas if your way of letting emotions out is killing people, you're a dangerous person who needs to be locked up. That's bad. For society, someone like that is dangerous and scary. I
think as a podcast, we should go on record as saying that serial killers are dangerous to society. We can say that.
Okay.
We can make it clear. Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I think Harry shows up to validate Dexter's release of emotion and stops there with his validation, I think.
Yeah.
and they don't kind of really address the fact that he killed this innocent person. I feel like that's what they want us to just stop there and say, okay, Dexter releases emotion, and don't think about what he really did.
I agree. And it's especially weird to me since they had a whole thing last season about him killing a guy who turned out to be innocent and feeling guilty about it, like realizing that he shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And they ended an episode on that note. And, of course, in the end, I don't think he ever thought about it again. But still, like, at one time, that would have been a big deal. And now it's not supposed to be about that. And I guess you're right. Maybe they just don't want to locate the drama there. And so they're just sort of diverting, like, just make it about this.
Mhm.
I
almost would have maybe been fine with them skipping that whole killing the guy scene, and saving that till and I don't know where they're going with the new guy, the animal control killer the week guy. I don't know how long term of an arc that is, but it almost to me would have been better to have that catharsis after he kills someone, but does his due diligence first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where, like, he's still, in shock for a while, and it's not until he gets, he finds someone to go after that he starts to become maybe his normal self, and then he kills the guy, and then he finally deals with Rita's death. And they basically just truncated it, They kind of skips the rules and just to truncate it to, which is fine, I guess. But
get to the point really fast.
It's a little bit of a cheat, because I think, like the points we're making, I think it just comes off like a little bit of inconsistency with how the show has been portraying what we're supposed to take from what's going on. But
yeah, I agree. And it was too easy. Like, it felt so contrived. Like,
the guy comes in and he's yelling and he's loud and therefore deserves to die. Like,
it's like, okay, this guy's a serious asshole. Oh, Dexter's got a weapon. Oh, they're in a secluded location. Like, it's sort of like, it's clearly set up for that to happen, and it doesn't feel like it flows naturally out of events occurring,
No.
So that was, but in a way I did like it. I mean, there is something like, nicely intense about it, and I appreciated the emotional release aspect of it,
Well, what's strange to me, to a degree, is doesn't Dexter get mad? Like, I feel like I've seen him mad, like, all the time.
Yeah, Dexter gets mad, sure.
So it's weird to me that, like, he couldn't just be mad about Rita being dead. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not one of the emotions. I mean, because after he kills the guy, he seems to vent anger, and when he yells and all that, I mean, there's something going on there that's angry, and it's like, you couldn't have got that before you killed this guy? Like, you couldn't have just been mad? It's one thing not to maybe feel sad or understand the loss yet or something like that, but it's like you could be mad, and so that's weird to me that he just had like no emotion, like he didn't know what to do. And I did like the whole thing where Aster just saw it on his face. I mean, like he couldn't even muster a tear or a frown, and she just sees it all over his face that you're telling me my mom is dead after I just went to Disney World, and you don't even look sad. Like what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting how they played to the beginning of the season.
I think that's another thing that I sort of realized that Dexter, because Dexter is so broken in a lot of ways. The people who think that they have really close relationships with him, who have no idea about these problems, it just throws that relationship into a weird light. Like I guess Deborah has a particular point of view about Dexter and what he's about, and she just really doesn't know this huge thing about him. And the same was true of Rita. Like she just never found out like probably the biggest thing to know about Dexter, personally. And she thought that, like, she really knew him and, and she had this, feeling of having this very close connection to this guy that is kind of sociopathic. You know, like it never really hit me how weird that is. Like, you know, like are they just misfiring? Like, can they not perceive? Like that's.
Well, I think there's an underlying truth that you can never really know someone. You can only know what they want you to know, and to a large degree. And I think that's really what the show is sort of saying. People can hide certain parts of themselves very well, and if you never find out, you can only know what you know, right? So. Yeah.
I guess, you're bringing up, like, after immediately reading that Dexter wasn't reacting appropriately, like, I felt like something like that, there should be alarm bells going off for other people at various times when Dexter's clearly not, like, reacting in the way you would expect.
And there are. Sometimes there are.
That's true.
They've had those moments where people have caught, like, he's not doing what somebody should do it. And even in this case, the people were saying he's not reacting the way, he hasn't, he wasn't emotional yet. So they did catch that. But I think it's that weird quality where it seems like Aster and Cody have just sort of, you always assume, I feel like we've been assuming that they think Dexter's normal. But it seems like Aster's like, if you asked her now, it seems like she'd say, yeah, he's always seemed weird. Like it just never really clicked. But it's like, yeah, they are picking up on some of that stuff, especially kids,
Yes.
But you never get their perspective on it. So it was interesting when they did get her perspective on that, his emotional state, and she was like, you don't even care.
Yeah.
Like you don't even, because, he is sort of, frowning or bad-ish looking.
Yeah.
But you never know how other characters are taking that until they respond. So she responds by saying, you don't look sad.
Right. Right. Yeah. I did really like that scene where he tells them, like, with that fucking Mickey Mouse hat on, and he's, I'm sorry for your loss. It was just so awful.
When he says, I'm sorry for your loss, that's just so, that is so awful. It is so bad.
And one thing I noticed watching pieces of it again was actually, like, the asshole guy says, I'm sorry for your loss to Dexter.
Totally. That's why you said that. That's totally why you said that, yeah. Because it's one of those things where he's trying to say what he thinks you're supposed to say, and he unfortunately repeats it verbatim, and it's like the situation isn't the same because you're part of the loss of the group who has lost.
Exactly. He doesn't realize how impersonal that comes off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you didn't have a loss? Like, what's going on? Like, you're making things worse by saying it that way.
Yeah, totally make it. And the way he described what happened too.
Yeah.
Like there were, and of course they, this is Dexter, but it's like, there was no real delicate way. It wasn't hastened down.
No.
It wasn't, there wasn't any big like intro. It was just like, this guy came in and killed her. The end.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so abstract, that's so, like, you don't know what that, I mean, the end game, but you don't know what that means in terms of what happened.
Yeah.
You don't know if she was held captive for 24 hours. You don't know, like, if it was a robbery or intentional, so it's like, it kind of makes it worse to not set the scene the best way possible, because then their minds just race. Yeah. And imagine the worst possibilities,
Right, and he's doing nothing to alleviate that.
Yeah, he's doing nothing. His face is doing even less.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was expecting him to do better. It was really bad. Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, like, it's like he wasn't really bad, and Harry wasn't even there, and I guess Harry's version of that footsteps poem would be, the single trail of footsteps was when you were walking alone, buddy, because I was gone.
Wow. Yeah.
Because, I think this is Dexter needed him the most, like, during this time, and he just...
That's when I wasn't there.
That's when I wasn't there.
Like that. Harry's the crappy god. I just take off when you need me.
Yeah, listen, I told you I don't work on Saturdays.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so any other big, what else was big in the first episode? He kills the guy. Okay, so then he decides to come back. They have that whole little excursion was weird. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna burn all my stuff.
Mhm.
What was the little quote he had about all a man needs? You know, like, all a man needs is something for where he's going, something from where he's been, and I don't know, it's a third thing.
Mhm.
And so Dexter takes a little bit from each and then, like, decides he's just going to go get on his boat and sail away.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, just kidding. I'll come back.
Yeah. I really didn't think he was going to leave for good.
Mhm.
That would have been pretty crazy. But yeah, I did think, like, I don't know, setting this container on fire, like, I don't know, it's going to attract some attention, but you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe he has it not under his name, but
yeah,
it's like, it's still, you don't want to set that whole thing up. It's kind of like if you just locked it up, who would ever check it, you know?
Right.
Like,
exactly, yeah.
It's keep paying the bill or something, and then, you know, whatever, just, if you just leave it there, it has just as much likelihood. You know, I feel like it draws less attention than if it's on fire.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Like, if anyone found out that he was the one who rented that, then it would be like, and then it burned down immediately after, like, you started being investigated? Like, that just doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess from Dexter's point of view, it's better that than they actually find things in there. But I don't know. It seems risky to me.
Yeah. And the last scene when he comes to the funeral and he shows up and everyone's been waiting on him. I was really kind of surprised that he didn't show up in a suit.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, again, it's like he really wasn't thinking, like he wasn't putting, the, like, presentation together.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it would have made sense for him to be like, okay, now I'm going to go to her funeral. I'm going to show up appropriately.
Yeah, I didn't even notice, but yeah.
Especially considering people are waiting on me. And he just, I think he did change because he killed that guy.
Yeah.
But he didn't think to put on a suit to go to his wife's funeral.
I guess not.
It's just weird.
It was a casual funeral for him, I guess.
Shorts and sandals?
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Taking it easy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, anyway, it just stood out to me because I thought, again, especially since the FBI was there, he would try to make the appropriate presentation. But
absolutely.
He didn't. He failed on, like, all those accounts.
Yeah.
All those counts, I guess.
No, he's definitely not. And I feel like it feels a little bit to me like a carry. I feel like last season there was a lot of that of him, like, slipping up in a number of ways. Like one of the big, like, overall, like, repeating things from last season was him just failing to do a lot of things the right way.
Yeah.
And just not succeeding over and over again or slipping up and. Yeah, I think, having it come to this, they haven't really made a point of it, but my impression is that somehow it just, like, confused his mind, and so he's just not thinking as sharply as he used to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes sense. It's valid.
Yeah. I do think he has grief for Rita in a that expresses itself in a strange way. Like his version of grief is just not recognizable to normal humans.
Well, I don't know. I mean, part of me would say he doesn't know what grief is. I mean, I think that's kind of the point. Like he doesn't understand what those emotions are because he doesn't have them. Like I think Look, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to see it. I mean, I don't know how great this would be for TV, but I'd like to see a scene with him telling how he feels to a psychologist. Like, I don't know how Dexter would describe what he feels about Rita passing. Like, would he say he feels grief? I mean, I mean, probably not. But I guess I feel like there's clearly it's clearly having an effect, a pretty major effect on him. It's just that effect is not normal at all. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that's why, I mean, it may be grief in terms of it's an analogous reaction or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But it seems to me like it's sort of more specifically just like a lack of sort of deciding on any emotion. It's just like he doesn't have any feelings. He's just kind of like he just sort of caught in limbo almost.
Yeah.
And so that's what's weird. That's what's weird because they talk about his emotions a lot, but it's hard to pin down, like, because again, like I say, like he has emotions, so it's like sometimes they try to make it seem like he doesn't have emotions,
right?
But that's not true. He does, He just doesn't have the typical human reactions at the appropriate times. But he does have, I think, we've seen him be happy, we've seen him be sad, we've seen him be depressed, we've seen him have all this sort of full range of human emotions, pretty much. So he's got it, but it seems like sometimes they try to make us believe he doesn't have emotions.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not true. He has them, He just maybe doesn't have natural control of them or something. But.
Right. And I think sometimes his emotions just don't fire when they should.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes off like he doesn't have them at times.
Yeah.
But they're definitely there. I mean, we've seen them. I do think early in the show they tried to sell the idea more that he doesn't have feelings at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at this point that's not really credible.
Yeah.
We've seen too much of him. Like and like really that's a hard character to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they didn't really write him that way. Even Data had like times where he would have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It was very special times, of course, but still.
Yeah. Data can do it.
Exactly.
All right, so episode 2, Hello Bandit.
Hello Bandit. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Do you know the Dexter naming conventions?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I have no idea what my impression is that they're more like Lost or something. They just call the episode something.
Okay.
But I could be wrong because I thought True Blood was that way too.
Well, Hello Bandit seems very strange for an episode title when no one says Hello Bandit.
I agree.
There's no character named Bandit.
Yeah.
I don't know who might be considered a bandit. And
I mean, really, how many bandits do you see?
Yeah.
On any given show.
True. So.
I feel like bandits have gone out of fashion.
Mhm.
I don't know. Back in the 30s, you could count on a few bandits, but these days,
maybe bandits disbanded.
Wow, what a pun. So yeah, and it's even weirder to say like, "Hello, Bandit." Like, why would you do? What's the context? I don't know.
Exactly.
It's a weird title.
So we've got this subplot about the FBI agents looking for...
generic Lundy, part 2.
Man, so generic FBI agents. They have no character, no charisma, nothing interesting, nothing that gives a hint that they'll be around for any length of time this season. Like, it's so weird. And no offense to the actors, but it's just, they're just totally seem like, generic FBI agents. He's like the title of that role.
It's just, it seems like it's written, directed, and acted like, make sure that no one cares about these characters.
Exactly. Yeah, like they would have just gone with cardboard cutouts, but it was too hard to get the lighting, so they just hired some actors.
Yes. That was the only problem.
The boards were too reflective, so
right. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish they didn't have to kill Lundy. I always thought that, at some point he should really get on to Dexter.
Mhm.
And I really still, even though they did it in season 2, I still feel like the end game for this show is Dexter himself being, investigated or pursued.
Oh, it has to be.
I think they have to do that right, and make that the last season.
What if it's Deb tracking him down? What if
Yeah.
she becomes head detective or whatever? She goes up a couple ranks by the end of the show, and she's got to take him down.
Yes, that's great. Another thing is I would like at least one character to find out about Dexter.
Yeah, and I feel like Deb's got to find out at some point. Anyway.
She's a prime candidate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the big things for Deborah personally is I think it would be good for her to understand why Harry spent so much time with Dexter over her.
Yeah.
Because I think she really just doesn't she thinks he just liked Dexter better for no reason.
Mhm.
And I think if she understood what was really happening, I mean, she may not be okay with it or whatever, but she would at least have a better idea of why he felt the need to spend so much time with Dexter.
Yeah, totally.
So just because of her personal stakes, and also I'm just curious what her reaction would be.
Mhm.
Because I think she really does not suspect that.
No.
She sees him as this, kind of weird and eccentric, but for the most part supportive and helpful older brother.
Yeah. You should know that's too good to be true.
Yeah, I know, of course. Yeah. Why wouldn't he be a serial killer?
Why wouldn't he be? Yeah. Yeah, she's had bad luck. I don't know. She's had some bad luck with the guys in her life.
Yeah. It's true. Really bad. I mean,
that'd be a tough one to take this whole time.
Yeah.
And and of course it'd be a hit on her detective skills too. That she's been living with this person for her entire life and never suspected. And
yeah.
So let's just ask the big question that's been brought up. Really, probably the biggest question so far is on the show. I think is should Maria share her money with Angel or not?
It's her money. I mean,
I know it's really divisive, but we're gonna have to get into it.
I'm gonna say she's under no obligation to share her money. I mean, I think she probably should have told him about it at some point, but I do think that's her. I mean, it was before the marriage that she amassed all that, and I mean, he didn't have anything to do with it.
I've got one word for you. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Dowry.
Of course. All right. Well, that's a hard word to argue with.
All right. I rest my case. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, she shouldn't have to share it. It's it's her retirement or whatever.
Yeah.
What does it make to be like? I mean, it's really the question is well, what do you need?
Yeah.
What is he all of a sudden now that he knows this, he's got to have something, or there's something he's been wanting and couldn't?
Yeah, it didn't even seem like that was it.
Yeah, obviously it's a matter of principle, and not really, But I feel like that's really what it comes down to is whether or not she shares it. It really comes down to if he would need the money or not, right?
Yeah.
And if he never kind of needs it, then it's sort of moot anyway. I mean, you can argue the principle, but it's well. If he makes enough to live off of and he never needs to have any more than that, then it really doesn't matter if she shares other than just the fact of her sharing. So
yeah. Is it worth the principle to make a big deal out of it?
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. Doesn't seem to me like it is.
He's too reckless with money. He's always buying all those hats.
Yes. Yes. Very healthy supply of hats. Colorful shirts as well.
Yeah.
Classic Angel look. He would be really easy to dress up as for Halloween.
He really kind of would be. Although there's people who dress like that all the time anyway.
Normally,
but,
yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to tell people.
Yeah,
No. This is a character.
No. Yeah. Okay, so episode 2, we got the FBI agent. So then, the other subplot that they start is Dexter renting the moving van, and he sees the van with blood.
Oh God! And they would not stop showing that shot of the blood.
Didn't they love that shot?
Why did they love that shot so much?
They kept like, let's do it again, guys. Let's do it again.
They did it.
We did it
a lot. Like I think they cut to it about 4 or 5 times.
It was at least 3, and I think 4, and it could have been 5.
Yeah, I know when they originally showed it, they did it twice, and then he went back later, and I think they showed it 2 more times.
Yeah,
and it was this weird like fade thing where you would just see the ground, and then like it would fade to seeing the blood there, and it was like, I don't know why you're showing that so much. Like, what am I supposed to do with that shot? I understand that there's blood there.
You know, what's funny is they didn't even need to do the effect. You know, they could have just showed the dried blood. Because it looks like a blood stain.
Yeah.
If you cut to a blood stain and have Dexter think, that looks like a blood stain.
Yeah.
You don't need the effect at all. You know, that like time-lapse thing or whatever that was supposed to be, or I don't know, Spidey sense or whatever.
Yeah. It comes off like some kind of weird like psychic memory thing.
Yeah, like he can spot blood and he just like a psychic memory.
Yeah, like he imagines what it was like when the blood was still fresh there.
Yeah, and it makes sense. He's a blood splatter guy, so he automatically is thinking of trajectories and velocities. But it's just, when they started it, I was just like, God, Dexter, just rent the moving van. just get the one without the blood. That way you don't have to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah.
And,
I think I totally misread. Like, I didn't know where they were going with that, and I actually thought the point was more like that. Like, he didn't want to rent a van with blood in it because then, like, they might think that he was responsible.
Exactly.
But then it turned out, no. He wants the truck with the blood in it because he wants to find out who's responsible.
It's so weird that it's such a needle in a haystack, almost literally, that he gets a van that has that, and they just happen to have the back of that one open. I've been to U-Haul places and truck rental places. There you'll ever have all the back of the truck. I've never seen that. But.
I've never seen that either.
Only in Miami, right?
Yeah. That must be it.
But anyway, But the needle in the haystack of finding that truck and then going out on the limb of thinking he's going to track down someone who did something wrong.
Yeah.
Was pretty crazy. It wasn't my favorite thing, and those kill of the week plot lines, they're always good because it's always just suspense.
Yeah.
He gets into his house. Oh no, the guy comes home early. Oh no, he's got to sneak out. Is he going to get caught? Yeah, probably not.
Exactly. I think early in the show it was a great gimmick, and really it was the initial draw for Dexter for me. It was weird. Like, okay, we're gonna watch the serial killer do his work, but he's a good guy in a certain sense. Oh yeah, totally. That was a hook, and I was into it. But I think over time it's just kind of worn thin, and now it just feels like I don't want to bother with this. Like, I would rather just, if they want to establish that he's still doing that, I'm okay with that, but I just wish they'd spend less time on it. It's just better when he has a really good reason to kill someone versus just justice or
exactly
anything
versus just like, oh, this person is bad. Because it's like, well, you're only killing this guy because you just stumbled across him, not you were tracking him down, or he killed somebody you knew, or something like that. Like it just seems like it's just sort of less interesting when it's some random person who is just going about their serial killing lives and has the misfortune of running into Dexter.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's always been more involving the larger plots. When he's got some, big killer to go after, the killer of the season, I guess. Mm-hmm. That stuff usually works pretty well. But I think the other thing about Killers of the Week that I don't like is how little they impact the story overall. Yeah.
Well, it's all secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you make a good point, because that reminds me, because I was going to make that point too, that it's the thing about the Killer of the Week stuff, and to sort of make the larger point, is that Dexter doesn't seem to learn sometimes from all these lessons. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing that bugs me, is like sometimes you see some sort of progression, and then sometimes you don't. Yeah. And so it seems like, with the Killer of the Week stuff, it's just like, it seems like it shouldn't play out the same all the time. Yeah. And it just usually does.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, they try to introduce little things, but for the most part, it is just the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. And, that just gets old. And you're right, it's a secret, so none of the other characters are going to know about it, so how much can it affect the story?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like, a large percentage of his killings are attributed to Dokes at this point.
Oh.
So, so all those are really probably, I don't know, presumably never going to, be properly solved.
Mhm. Well, if Dexter ever gets caught, they might
figure it out.
Think something different about Dokes' stuff, but
it really sucks. Dokes just totally got screwed.
Yeah, he really didn't get dealt a good hand.
Yeah, that's man. Another thing I've noticed that they've kind of been toying with for a long time, well, at least since last season, is kind of having Quinn be the new Dokes.
He's the new Dokes.
Yeah, like, really not in a character sense, but just in terms of how he becomes suspicious of Dexter.
Yeah.
Like they did a little bit of that last season of him like following Dexter, and that was a very Dokes-esque scene, and now he gets suspicious about Rita, and then there's this thing with these composites that he puts together, and I guess he's like, it's he talks to Elliot. It's weird because he goes over to talk to Elliot, and Elliot's like, he found out about me and Rita, and then he came over and punched me in the face. Like, in my head, that's like, that sounds totally normal, nothing to see here. Mm-hmm. Like that's.
But it's double probable cause because it shows he was violent and angry, upset about learning it. So I think that's the double-edged sword about that.
Yeah, I guess so. But on the other hand, it just sounds so mundane and normal. To me, that wouldn't make me suspicious.
It was supposed to be mundane and normal. That's why he did it.
I know.
That was him learning that he needs to sort of, that was the whole thing. Rita wanted him to react to it.
Yeah.
So he did that, and that was, he got a pat on the head. Yes, you're human.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And yet Quinn takes it like, ooh, maybe he really killed her. Like, about this thing that all he did was punch this guy about. Like, I don't know. To me, that just sounds like not a really plausible story.
But think about it from Quinn's perspective. Dexter Morgan punched someone out. Dexter never comes off like aggressive.
Yeah. Although he did kind of like knock Quinn down last season when he kept like trying to get him to like go to a game or something. So he's seen a little bit of that side of Dexter.
Yeah, isolated incident. Yeah, but I think for a detective that still comes off like, well, there's something there.
For the most part, yeah, he's pretty quiet and meek and mild. Yeah,
so it's he's doing his job. He's being suspicious. He's right. 90% of the time it's the husband. So
good odds. And Dexter did say it was me.
Yeah.
Which was not a good move, probably.
Yeah, exactly. He knows the Trinity Killer's MO and all that stuff. So
yeah.
You could put together a case. I mean, and what's weird is you have that scene with the FBI, and Dexter tells the FBI, you can look at the dock footage for my alibi. You can see that I get on my boat. And they were like, well, what did they say? They were like, the footage only shows before and after or something. And it's like, it's not, it almost like there's some wiggle room on whether he was there or not or where he went.
I thought what they said was it shows you getting there 2 hours after she was killed. And
is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it was, it wasn't conclusive. It wasn't a conclusive alibi. Yeah.
No.
They let him off the hook.
Yeah, they did.
They were like, don't. They were like, he was like, you can look at my footage. They go, yeah, we looked at it, and it didn't prove your point, but it proved your point. And it just was like, what?
Well, you can go now, and
we're not thinking of you. But it's like, wait a minute, you should be, because I don't have an alibi.
And we know you're the killer, and you're free to go, but we'll see you later.
Yeah, it was a really weird scene. I didn't expect them to say, like, either the footage should give him an alibi or the footage shouldn't give him an alibi. And then there should be two different outcomes from each of those.
But yeah, but no.
It was like, no.
Yeah, that part's weird. I kind of like the idea, I don't know how much they're going to do with it, but I kind of like the idea that his Kyle Butler adventures are kind of coming back to haunt him. Because I did think at the time, like, I don't know if this is a good idea to spend so much time with this serial killer's family. I mean...
Yeah, I think Harry said that too once or twice.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, no, it wasn't good to be like, yeah, hey, I'm Kyle. I'm just going to hang out with you all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
Dexter doesn't want anyone connecting him to the Trinity Killer.
Exactly. And I mean, he's part of the,
setting.
He could potentially be part of the investigations related to Trinity. I mean, he was, of course. And so, I mean, if the family is ever in the same place, they're going to recognize him.
Yeah.
And like that almost happened. And of course, I mean, whatever. I mean, they don't write it, it won't happen. But it just seems to me like a very bad idea.
Well, doesn't the son know something about Dexter, or who Dexter really is, or something? Didn't he tell the son something, or am I making something up?
I don't think so, but maybe I'm forgetting. I don't remember. I mean, he did have a thing with the son.
Or did he just tell the son that he knew that his dad was a killer or something? I thought he shared some secret with the son, but maybe it wasn't about Dexter. It was about somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, I mean, maybe, I guess if the family ever gets called in. So the potential damage here is what? That the Trinity Killer's wife or son gets called in?
Yeah.
Those are the only two who know Kyle, right?
Or the daughter.
Oh, there's a daughter too. Okay, and so that's it. So it's just that family, right? It's not like other people who would know Kyle. Yeah,
I guess technically not, because he didn't really associate with him in other contexts. Like, I mean, if you, they're really not going to do this, but they could say like those people who were helping out with the. What was it called? The two walls build?
Oh yeah, the Habitat for
Humanity, wasn't it?
You probably want 4 walls if you're gonna build a structure.
Not 2 walls.
2, you're only halfway done.
Here's a 2 walls house. It's kind of breezy.
Well, if you do the 2 walls right, you can make a tent.
That's true.
Lean them against each other.
There you go.
Boom. Low-cost housing.
I don't think that we're supposed to really suspect that, but technically they did see him and Arthur together. And actually, they were there when he saved Arthur's life,
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect them to kind of remember him.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something else. So, where did Quinn get the sketch from? Why is he? Where did the sketches come from? I forget.
I think the sketches came from the family, and I guess they all gave different sketches.
So the family said, "Hey, we know somebody named Kyle Butler who was hanging around." I don't remember how that came up.
Yeah, I think it was the Trinity Killer's MO, but Trinity Killer had disappeared. And they talked to the family, and they talked about this guy, Kyle Butler, who had been around a lot right before he disappeared.
Oh, I see.
And so I think that led them to suspect that maybe Kyle Butler was, responsible.
Okay.
I don't even remember where the name... Oh, they even said it. Kyle Butler was a name from some case they worked on, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Kyle Butler was a real person.
Yeah.
And again, there was a Kyle Butler who had that name, and Dexter just made up the name, didn't he?
I thought he actually took it, because I thought that's why they made that point of, having...
Well, what happened was Dexter used that name, and then the Trinity Killer was trying to come after Dexter.
Oh, shit, that's what... You're right, it was the other way around.
He just killed a random Kyle Butler.
Good point. Yeah, Dexter made it up, and
So Dexter just made it up.
Because that was another Dexter, fuck-up. Because he made up this name, some guy with that name got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Just really crappy. But you're right. That's what it was. I forgot about that.
That's not even Dexter. It seems like he's not trying to become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's not trying to kill less or to, take out his need to kill in other ways. It just seems like he's trying to have it all, I guess you might say.
Yes. Yes.
He's just a young girl in a modern world trying to have it all. But it seems to me like the
he's the Liz Lemon of Miami Metro.
It just seems to me like he should be... What did you say?
He's the Liz Lemon of Miami Metro.
Oh, okay. If I said Mary Tyler Moore, that would have been just as good.
Yeah.
It just seems like the arc of the show would be him becoming less of a killer and more human, not finding the perfect balance between killer and human.
Right.
Well, what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Although I think it kind of has been about finding the perfect balance.
Mm-hmm.
Which in certain ways has led to how to be a better human, because I think he's better in a way at being a killer. But I think overall it really isn't. It's never been on the table cutting down or stopping.
Mm-hmm.
It's always how do I reconcile the two? Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that's why he hasn't had any character growth, because he's not trying to grow.
Yeah.
He's just trying to do this thing that, as he can see from the Trinity Killer, is impossible. I feel like that was an example of having the best social life.
Yeah.
And having sort of the best serial killer career. But then, of course, there's a drawback that he's unwilling to live with. So it's it's not really possible, Dexter. So that's why I feel like he should give up that dream at some point. Maybe this is a season where he gives up that dream now that he doesn't have the family anymore. But it's at some reason he needs to give up this balance idea, I feel like, and focus on one or the other, and have the conflict come from that. Because the balance thing is just, he's just spinning plates, and it's they can only last so long, and before it just inevitably falls apart.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it seems to have gotten worse over time, rather than better. I remember in season 2, it seemed like one of the big things was sort of breaking out of Harry's code or replacing it or improving it or something, And
Harry didn't know what he was talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Harry was wrong.
Yeah. Harry was wrong. And, yeah, that just kind of disappeared. I mean, I think Harry was righter than Dexter is.
Yeah.
And I also think, like, they kind of fumbled the revelations about Harry.
Mhm.
You know, it felt like a subplot that was leading to something, and it just sort of didn't ever do anything.
You mean what Harry did?
Yeah.
The whole what secret he had. What was the secret?
See, that's the problem. That's why I think they failed, because, yeah, you have to even work to remember what the secret was. I think the secret, all they ever did was say he slept with some of the CIs. I think that's it.
Oh, that? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all they did with that, and that's why I feel like they introduced that plot. It's hard for me to believe that when they introduced that, that's all they wanted to do with it. I get the sense that maybe they just decided they didn't want to do anything big with it, and so they just kind of tossed it to the side.
Mhm.
You know, because they said, I mean, that was like multiple season arc about learning the truth about Harry that went nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Mhm. You know, that's the other thing I was going to say. You know, this episode, these two episodes, or the first episode, I guess, had the funeral scene when he's at the funeral parlor, and it was weird to see Michael Hall in a funeral parlor after 6 Feet Under. But it's also weird that he, talks to dead people, so which is a very 6 Feet Under thing too. So he must.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, totally. Having this person, talk about his problems and be his subconscious and all that. Yeah, total 6 Feet Under thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really make that connection, but yeah, that's
Yeah, it was very surreal to see him in that funeral home, and it's almost like David's going to come down. He's working there or something.
I would love to see that. I wish there was some way that made sense.
Yeah, totally. They're just long lost twin. He had a twin, and the mom didn't know when she gave birth. And
oh, okay.
He got mixed up at the hospital, and
yes. That reminds me. That's what I was going to say. I thought the Harry thing was leading to Harry was Dexter's father.
Oh, yeah, I remember thinking that too.
And they never really went there. They just kind of stopped short at he probably fooled around with the mother, but there was never any suggestion that he was Dexter's father.
Oh, that was supposed to be the icing on the cake, right? Like, oh, he fooled around with these people. Oh, he fooled around with Dexter's mom.
Yes.
That's why he was interested in her in the first place.
Exactly.
Because this was his son. That's why he took Dexter and not the other kid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it would have made perfect sense, but they never did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems so obvious and also, like, potentially good, but... yeah.
Oh, Dexter. The show.
Yeah. I mean, on the whole, I think it's good, but it's just it has these features that never seem to go away. But I keep coming back, and I've never really come close to saying, like, I give up on this show.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I still enjoy it. It's I'm pretty happy with these first two episodes. It's a little tedious with the kill of the week. I hope it either gets way more interesting or it's not that much a part of the show of this season. But yeah, I'm hanging in there. I'm still interested. We've got this whole new storyline about the Dia de los Muertos killer or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Whatever's going on here. Santeria killer over here. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. I guess this is Dexter. I mean, like any other season, this killer Dexter's going to go head to head with by the end of the season. But it's weird to call that in episode 2, to be like, whoever's behind this murder, yeah, that's who Dexter's going to go up against. But it's probably true.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's usually what they do.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, and pretty often it's the case that he's not even particularly interested or involved initially.
Yeah, I think it's obviously going to be Deborah is working this case. You know,
Yeah.
They got this new Latina officer who knows the neighborhood. She seems like she's going to be a character for a little bit here, and it's going to be like they're going to need Dexter's help. Somehow this problem is going to wind up at his door, and it's like you're saying, it's not going to be because he went looking for someone to kill or anything like that. It's like he was just going to get caught up in it.
Yeah. I think they already have had a couple of scenes of Masuka, like, I want Dexter back, and I think that's setting up, you know, Dexter's coming back, and once he does, I think that'll probably lead to that bigger plot. It's hard to see it right now because they've given us so little about it.
Yeah.
You know, but I remember last season, like, we knew, like, almost nothing about John Lithgow at this point. You know, they only showed him, like, a couple of times briefly, and I think actually the police hadn't even discovered, you know, his work yet.
Yeah.
You know, I think Lundy didn't show up until, like, well, maybe it was, like, episode 2, but still, not much had happened yet.
Yeah, exactly. Just the same way they're just beginning it now.
Yeah. Kind of wish Lundy didn't have to die. Especially in such a way that, and that's another thing, just, you know, so Quinn and Deborah have sex in the house after they clean it up. And sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I said after they cleaned it up, they made it dirty again.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I bring that up because, you know, his girlfriend for a long time, like, blew her head off, like, a couple days ago. So it strikes me as...
Listen, Quinn has lost a lot of weight since those couple of days ago, all right? A lot of weight and a lot of ex-girlfriends, so he doesn't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the most dramatic thing with Quinn was the actor lost a lot of weight. Which was weird because he didn't seem like he needed to lose weight.
Not really. He wasn't fat or anything.
Yeah, but he's like, you can see his cheeks sunken in. I was like, yeah, you lost weight, dude.
Yeah. I think his hair's different too. From like yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, we can use the suspension of disbelief to believe he got a haircut in 24 hours. So
I guess, yeah, sure.
If it's even plausible in the real world, you know, it's impossible, but it's Hollywood.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was because you know that his girlfriend from last season, the reporter, like, who turned out to be, I guess, Arthur's daughter. Christine, that was her name. You know,
he doesn't know that, does he? He doesn't know he was dating the Trinity Killer's daughter.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, no.
He's not going to want to find that out.
Yeah.
That would actually be interesting. That would give.
Oh, no. I think he does know.
Oh, does he know?
Yeah. I mean, I know Deborah knew, and they were suspicious, and I think Deborah was telling Quinn about it and trying to convince him that they needed to bring her in. So I think he does know. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Not acting like it.
He's really not acting like it. I think it's unfortunate, you know, she's the one who killed Lundy, and it was really just this thing to impress her father or help him or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's,
yeah,
that's
he should have been taken down by a worthy adversary, not just the daughter of a worthy adversary.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he deserved a more significant.
That's why I don't like guns. They're just too easy, you know? Too easy to shoot somebody.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's true. I guess that's the idea.
Yeah, it's like you don't need a lot of skill to pull a trigger.
Mhm. It's true. It's true.
But anything else in this episode you want to bring up?
Trying to think.
I'm kind of scanning the episode, and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of purple shirts in this episode.
Oh God.
I hate to bring this up again.
Oh my God, those fucking purple shirts.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at it, and there's 6 characters with purple shirts.
Maybe there's some kind of like costume company that makes a lot of purple shirts.
Okay, look, in the beginning, Deborah has a purple shirt. Okay, and then let's see. Somebody's got purple stripes. This guy's got a purple tie. Now Dexter has a purple shirt. Oh no, this is what's his name? Elliot has a purple shirt. I don't know why purple stands out. It just, I guess when I see purple, you don't see people in a lot of purple in everyday situation, and it's just.
I'm not sure I would notice since I never notice on the show. But I agree with you.
Maybe it's just because purple look. I mean, they may use it, and then Quinn has on a purple shirt. Maybe they use it because it just looks good. Obviously, they have a color palette they're using for Miami, and that purple and those blues and those colors make sense.
Yeah.
But maybe it just looks good anyway on TV because it is a rich color, and I think that's why it stands out to me.
That's true.
It's usually that dark reddish purple or they'll use, or the really sort of light purple.
Mhm.
And that's the end of the purple discussion on the Mr. Podcast.
Yeah, I really feel like you've uncovered a phenomenon in television here. I don't know what to make of it, but I do believe that you're probably right that there's some like simple explanation for why purple seems to be so preferred by costume departments on TV.
Yeah, I mean it's a bold. It's a rich. It can be a rich color, but it doesn't stand out. It doesn't pop out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's probably lighting and design reasons. I'm sure there's there's stuff like that they use, and I'm sure there's like, a customer would be like, oh, never use this color.
Right.
It'll look like whatever on screen, or never use this design because it'll, there's stuff like that, I'm sure. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so purple probably is just a good color for a lot of situations.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll notice that next time. Get it in my head.
Start checking out the clothes. Do what Patrick Bateman would do. Right.
I need to try to be more like Patrick Bateman.
We all need to try to be more like Patrick Bateman.
Absolutely.
Especially Dexter. Oh, wait. He's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anything else?
I'm trying to think if we missed anything. Let me go through this in my head. I think that's it. For now, yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
All right, well, we'll be back with some more Dexter Podcast as the season unfolds, and, so far so good.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens.
I'm definitely invested, and I'm kind of anxious to see what the larger story is going to be. I thought it was weird that in the second episode they end it without resolving the killer of the week.
Mhm.
I think normally the killer of the week doesn't last for more than 1 week.
Yeah.
But, it has a couple times, I guess, but they ended it on Dexter discovering that he was a viable target. So I guess we're going to have to deal with him actually going after this guy next week, and I'm not particularly excited about that. But hopefully some other things will happen as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of time in the second episode to do too much. So I'm thinking this guy might put up a little bit of a fight. I don't know if he'll be a straight easy kill, but hopefully he's not around too long, and they'll get to some other stuff. Unless this is just a great storyline, I don't know. Maybe they'll make it fantastic, but
yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
I don't want to rule it out already.
Yeah, I don't want to rule it out either. I don't want to just be like get him out of here. I've seen that actor in other stuff. I like him, so.
Oh really?
Hopefully he'll hopefully he'll be good.
Yeah, I was confused like when they kept showing him, particularly with the like strands of hair tied together, like
yeah.
I thought the reveal was going to be like he's just a weirdo that like collects doll hair or something.
Mhm.
Like he's got this like shed with all these like strands of doll hair numbered on the wall, and it's going to be like, okay, this guy is just kind of weird.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad you don't write for Dexter. And I'm glad I don't either, because I didn't have anything much better than that. Well, I'm not glad I don't write for Dexter, but you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not what I would have written for it, but it's what I thought was happening.
Mhm.
Because I didn't really get it. I didn't get where they were going with that.
You didn't. I mean, it's an obvious conclusion if you see a taxidermist or whatever this guy was. I keep saying taxidermist, but he's animal control,
right?
And then, but I guess you just think taxidermy. I mean, it's an animal control guy who's creepy. He's got to be doing taxidermy, right? I mean,
yeah.
And he's doing something. That was what was weird when Dexter opens the trash can and he sees all the dead animals, and he's like, "Oh, nothing weird here. Keep going." Wait a minute. I know nothing about like sanitation law, and something tells me you can't just have a dumpster full of dead animals hanging out. Like I think there's probably some proper way to dispose of them, not just decomposing in open containers. I was like, that's just like, yep, nothing weird here.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something with that.
Because, I mean, if that's his job, I mean, why is this stuff at his house if that's his job? You know what I mean? Like, it's already strange that he's got that crap at his house.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's taking his work home for no reason.
And that kind of work, and you're taking it home, something's up.
Mm-hmm.
Some work you leave in the office.
I said the same thing Dexter did. I was like, oh, nothing weird there, because,
Because everyone has a dumpster full of dead animals.
Well, he's a dead animal guy, so why not? But, yeah, it's actually still weird.
Yeah, no, as soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, yeah, no, that's not good. You shouldn't have that right there. No. No.
And I guess they wanted to tease us that, like, those bins could just be dead animals, and, like, that he would just, I think Dexter even said it, like, he's too lazy or something, he just throws them, like,
that's so stupid. I mean, it's fine, I guess, to jump to that conclusion, but that would be so stupid to be like, I'm too lazy to dispose of my job, the stuff I do on my job correctly, so I'm just going to put them in barrels and dump them in this shallow, like, marsh. It's all right. But you know what? Having it be human remains doesn't make it any smarter, so.
True. It's probably less smart having it be human remains.
Probably less. You have to get pen and paper out to really decide, but, probably less.
Yeah. Oh, Boyd Fowler. That's such a made-up name.
Yeah. No offense to any Boyd Fowlers out
there. I know. We've had like 5 Boyd Fowlers listening. Sorry, guys.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week, and maybe we'll be back the week after next.
Yeah. We'll be back.
We'll be back. We'll be back. ... How about that?
Exactly. Yeah. I think Dexter is the kind of show that it's probably best, taken maybe in twos more so than episode at a time.
Mhm.
You know, because I think we got a good podcast out of 2, but 1 would have been more of a stretch.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yes.
We'll catch you next time.
All right. See you later.